with the market shifting, you're going to start noticing a lot more listings on the market, and you might be tempted to follow your real estate agent's advice of maybe overbidding on the house, because let's face it, for the past 2 years, that has been the trend. But now more than ever, you must look at the data and you must make sure to try to get a good deal on the purchase price, so that way you can combat that higher interest rate and potentially eat into any dips that might happen in the next few months. So today's video, we're going to use an actual house that my client is currently purchasing and go over the comps that they use to see if they actually are getting a decent deal or not. Now, I know you may be distracted by my curly, beautiful locks, and I did use some cream. My daughter has curly hair like me, so I literally just use her products on my hair because I can't be bothered to just go to Target, I guess, and buy myself some stuff. So try not to be distracted too much with my curly locks and try to look at the data, and hopefully your real estate agent can do this for you, or simply you can maybe look up this data yourself. So first and foremost, let's start off with the house in question. Here it is, the red house. At the time that we made an offer, it was listed for $399,000. It was on the market for 30 to 40 days. It had decent photos, but the thing that really stood out, it was perfect area for my client, and more importantly, once again, it was 30 to 40 days on the market, and it seemed somewhat decent in the photos. And when they went to go look at it, of course, it looked like it was somewhat maintained. You know, it wasn't perfectly maintained, but it looked like it was decent. It was an okay deal. It worked for the situation. It worked for the payment they wanted, etc., etc. So now when we make an offer, what you should do as well is you really want to make sure to look at the comps. You just need to figure out if you're doing at least 3 things with this house. Are you pushing the values of the neighborhood? Are you solidifying the values of the neighborhood? Or are you lowering the values of the neighborhood? Now, keep in mind, Zeke, as I speak, make sure you're putting big words or words somewhere as I'm talking so people can follow along. Okay, Zeke? Thanks. Now, in this situation, we were very fortunate that we were able to find 3 model matches, meaning the same exact square footage, same exact bedroom layout, etc., in the past 30 to 60 days of closing. And here is what they were. Now, remember, this house was listed for $399,000. Now, check a look. We had 3 comps. This one was a 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 1439 square feet, exact model match, and it actually sold for $390. And what we can do is we can look down and we can see what originally was it listed at and what it is sold for, and how many days it took on the market. It took 15 days to sell, and they actually sold it at a discount of $5,000. The next one was this one. This one was actually listed for $400,000, and it took 6 days to sell, and they accepted $391. And the last house, which is a very interesting situation, is this one that sold for $355. So we had a pretty common trend of 390s, but this one for some reason sold for a lot less, and we have to identify what that reason was. Upon further review, we can see here that the tenant's rights do not disturb, 48 hours notice, leased until September 2022. Leased until September 2022. Leased until September. Okay, so you can tell there's a common pattern there. So it was leased until September, which is about a few months. But I mean, still, if it's leased for another few months, it must not be that inconvenient for it to be such a heavy discount. Well, the thing is if you look at the photos, it doesn't seem that bad. Now, these could be old photos. It could have been a situation where the house can be in really, really rough shape. Who knows? We will never truly ever know. But point being, they sold at a significant discount. Now, if it wasn't, let's say house, we'll call this house 1. We'll call this one that sold for $390, house 2. And we'll call this one that sold for $391, house 3. Now, if it was just house 2 and 3 in the picture, you can clearly say, anyone can look at it and say, okay, well, this house is worth about $390 because there was 2 recent comps, $390, $391. Now, if you're in a situation where it's very clear what the value of the property you're looking at, you have to ask yourself the question again of those 3 things I mentioned earlier. Are you going to push value with your offer? Are you going to solidify value with your offer? Are you going to try to reduce the values of the neighborhood with your offer? Now, how you determine what to do depends on a few things. 1, what is the current state of the market? Are you in a completely hot market where houses are going up in value like it was maybe 2 years ago? Are you in a market where things aren't very sure? It could go down or up or just stay solid for a while. Or are you in a market that's going down? I mean, whatever your opinion is of that matter, using your own research, you can determine that. You can make the best offer that's best for your family. But there's a wrench thrown in this situation with this house that sold for $355. Very, very particular, and honestly, it really sucks for the neighborhood. This is why when you decide to sell at a discount, you affect everybody else. at the end of the day, we have to use that as a valid comp. It's the same exact house. It's the same exact model match. Therefore, our averages get thrown off. Well, the conversation that I instructed my agent to have with my client is, hey, this is a situation where it sucks. Yes, unfortunately that's there, but that's the facts. We have to present the facts as they are. So what I did next, and this is what I recommend you do, is look up the tax records to see if they can sustain a pretty lowball offer. What I mean by that, well, you may or may not have access to it. You can ask your real estate agent for that situation. And if you don't have an agent, there's a great resource where you can get a referral down below. Just saying, wink, wink. I looked up the tax records of the home to see if they can sustain it. Now, what you're looking for is what's the loan amount, like what they went, like in this situation. I don't want to give specific details, but let's just give it a general assumption. Let's say they bought the house 10 years ago, 20 years ago for 140,000, 180,000, just giving you a broad range, and they're selling it now for $399. Well, they can probably sustain a pretty decent hit. They're still making 6 figures on the deal if we lowball them. So in that case, your ability to lowball is a lot more presentable. It should come across as a very analytical decision, right? Now, if they barely are making anything on it, like they bought it for 2 years ago for $370, now it's selling for $399. Now you can lowball them and they might take a loss. If that's your prerogative, that's fine. But there's a higher likelihood that they're going to go tell you to kick rocks. So in this case, after evaluating, hey, they have pretty decent equity. Even if they, reduce it by a few $1,000s, they're still winning. It's 2, they have higher days on market, over 30 to 40 days, meaning that they're probably in a position where they're probably jonesing, they're nervous about the market, they want to get the ball rolling. So I'm the kind of agent that just gives the data to my client and then I let them make the best decision for themselves. And in this situation, the offer that was made by my client was $378,500. How they came up with that number? But anywho, $378,500 is what we went with. And in this case, everything worked out and the seller accepted our offer. So all of our assumptions were correct in this situation. And the best news is the appraisal came in $20,000 below appraised value. And my client is extremely happy in this situation. Now, how could have this gone another way? Well, if for any reason, the weekend that we happened to see it, there was multiple offers, well, that can sometimes lead things to a more profitable position for the seller. Or now there's 2 people competing and the price goes up and up and up. So now more than ever, I want to enforce that you as the buyer maybe people don't realize this yet, but you have more power now more than ever. And there's less buyers out in the market now. And there's a lot of people that are scared of what's to come. But at the end of the day, like I've always said, it really drives me crazy when people go like, oh, you were saying that you should always buy and the houses are going to keep going up and up and up. I hate those comments because for those people that have followed me for the past few years, I've never said just everyone buy. I've always said buy when you're ready and buy if the situation's right for you. You're in the need to buy. You're like your rent's about to expire. You prepared. You're ready to go. Right. Even when the pandemic was first starting, and that would have been an extremely profitable time to buy. Like anyone who bought within 2000, beginning to mid 2020, or let's say mid 2020, anyone who bought within that time has hundreds of thousands of equity right now. I wish I can go back in time and buy like 10 new builds, and I wouldn't have to be making this video. I would be living in the Bahamas or something right now, okay? So even in that time when it was extremely profitable, I still was saying, be careful, guys, buy when you're ready. And I will continue to say, sorry, I'm just so passionate about it because I hate when people just accuse me of saying stuff that just because I'm not like their favorite realtor telling them the market's crashing every month doesn't mean I've always said things are fine and perfect. Anywho, the point is, for those that are buying right now because they have to, you have more power than you think you have. Stop watching old videos that telling you that market's crazy. Now it is a different market. Now it is a buyer-friendly market. If you're buying because you need to, okay, you have power. If you're not buying yet, continue to prepare, continue to save, and who knows what's in the future. But all you need to know is the only thing that you can control is yourself. So make sure that you're financially prepared for whatever decisions you're making in the future. And scene.